In addition to title sponsor Old National Bank, we'd also like to thank Great Lakes Educational Group and Steve's Custom Designs. A little bit about these two organizations, if I could. Great Lakes Educational Group is a family-founded and run organization that strives to create positive learning experiences for all students. They work with students from kindergarten through college in the greater Saline area to help students excel socially, emotionally, and academically. Students' needs are assessed and then learning goals are designed that the academic tutor then uses to guide effective instruction. Along with academic tutoring in reading, writing, math, science, and social sciences, Great Lakes Educational Group offers specialized individual and group preparatory classes for the ACT and SAT college entrance exams. Great Lakes Educational Group is passionate about serving their students and continuing to pursue their goal of being a leader in education. They are dedicated to giving a superior learning opportunity for all students. Steve's Custom Signs can screen virtually any product. From printed corporate clothing to business signs, they do it all. In existence for over 14 years, they also run the SalineSpirit.com website, which supplies quality Saline Spirit wear and team gear. A portion of the sales, of all sales to SalineSpirit.com, is donated back to Saline Area Schools. Quality products and excellent customer service set Steve's Custom Signs apart from their competition. When you need something printed, please call Steve's Custom Signs. It should be noted that both of these partners are owned and operated by Saline High School alums. Steve's Custom Signs is owned by Saline graduate Steve Yaley, and Saline grad Brenda Set-Wright is an owner of the Great Lakes Educational Group. Please give all three of our partners a warm round of applause. And now a little bit about the Hall of Fame. Approximately 18 months ago, the Foundation's Alumni Committee began discussing ways to honor those who have demonstrated outstanding individual ability, leadership, character, dedication, personal drive, and integrity. In short, we sought individuals whose lives and accomplishments have inspired and impacted the students of Saline and the surrounding community of Saline. To be eligible, candidates had to have met at least one of the following criteria: be a Saline High School graduate at least 5 years prior to this date, a former faculty member, coach, or administrator, or to be an individual who has made exceptional contributions to the Saline Area Schools or to the community of Saline. When reviewing nominees, we look for individuals who would gain recognition and prominence in their field or endeavor and make noteworthy contributions in that field or in community service. We look for people who are people with integrity. We look for people who exemplify the principles, philosophies, and mission of the Saline Area School District. As we introduce the inaugural class of the Hall of Fame, I am confident that you too will find these individuals more than deserving of the recognition they are about to receive. Each of our inductees was asked to select an individual to introduce them. And so without further ado, I ask Betsy Marble to come forward and introduce Kay Raymond.
Good evening. I have to say, when Kay called me and asked me to introduce her, I was a little shocked. Usually my son gets these speaking engagements and I don't. So I'm very honored to be introducing her this evening. It is my pleasure to introduce Kay Raymond to you this evening. Kay has been married to her wonderful husband, Doug, for 56 years. They have 2 daughters that live in the area, Joyce, who lives in Milan, and Sue and her husband, Gordon, who live in Ann Arbor. She has 2 grandchildren, Nicole and Brandon, along with a grand dog and a grand cat. Kay started her career in Saline in 1968 when she was hired to work in the cafeteria at Houghton School. Kay always had an interest in becoming a phys ed teacher, I learned, but that didn't quite work out for her, so she did the next best thing and joined an elementary school staff. In the early 70s, she was moved from the cafeteria cafeteria to the Houghton office, where she became the secretary and spent the next 13 years working for Bob Kessel. Kay loved working in the office and seemed to instantly learn the names of all the students and their parents. As a new teacher being hired in 1977, I will forever be grateful to Kay Raymond. She took me under her wing and patiently got me through the first year. I quickly found out the building secretary is someone who you want to have on your side. When looking through some old files, and I have to say, I say things, but not like I did this year. This was my first year. So I found something that my class had done for Kay for Secretary's Day. They traced my body, colored it to look like Kay Raymond, and wrote why they thought Kay Raymond was a special person. Here are some of the reasons that first graders in 1977 thought Mrs. Raymond was a very special person. She's always nice and always smiles. She's like a nurse. Mrs. Raymond knows everyone's name and their address. She's like a mom and cares about us. She runs the school. She tells Mr. Kessel what to do. She loves kids. She gives teachers stuff, probably like supplies. She makes you laugh when you feel sad, and she'll call home for you if you forget something. The students at Houghton School loved Mrs. Raymond and knew she cared about them. Yes, she was the school secretary, but the students were always her top priority. It was a sad day at Houghton School in the mid-'80s when we found out in the summer that Mrs. Raymond was transferring to the high school guidance office. Kay took her love of working with students to the high school and often reconnected with those students from Houghton School. Kay never met a challenge she didn't enjoy and was always willing to try new things and assume new responsibilities. Congratulations to Kay Raymond on being inducted into the Foundation of Saline Area Schools Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Betsy. Hope they don't put the dessert away. I ain't got I'm honored and proud to be selected for the Foundation's Wall of Fame. When I started working in the Houghton cafeteria, it never entered my mind that I would be there for so many years working for Saline District. Mr. Kessel was principal at the time. He gave me the opportunity to be building secretary. We worked well together for many, many years, and mostly because our priorities were the same: the welfare and the safety of our little students. Our office was very busy. I think it was because we had the best Band-Aids, cold cloths, and conversation in the area. I have many fond memories of the students, the parents, and the staff of Houghton School, and I'll remember them forever. When the counseling office position opened, I decided I was ready for a change. I interviewed with Mr. Tebow and the counselors and received a transfer. Thank you, Mr. Tebow. You know the saying, be careful with what you wish for because you might get it? Well, a change I got. Wow, we had bigger students, bigger issues, bigger egos. Thank goodness the counselors were there for the bigger issues. I was used to the easy ones, the little ones. After a few years, technology area hit hard, and I assumed other duties in the district. While it was a challenge, I enjoyed it, but I missed the interaction with the kids. Through my years at district, it allowed me to work with many dedicated administrators, support staff, and teachers, and I want to thank each and every one of them. I want to thank my family for joining me here tonight for this occasion. I realize the sacrifice they gave up to be here tonight because Michigan and Notre Dame are on TV. Thanks to the Foundation for all they do for the benefit of our Saline students. for my selection for the Wall of Fame and for this great dinner. Thank you.
Mr. Raft is over at our table mentioning that he remembers Mr. Kessel giving out spankings. So maybe all the issues weren't bigger at the high school. The next individual I'd like to introduce to you tonight is Emily Sickler, and Emily is here to introduce her mother, Kimberly Van Hoek. Emily Sickler.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce my mother, Kim Van Hoek. My mom has spent 40 years working for Saline Schools in some capacity. What you may not know is that my mom knew she wanted to be an educator at a really early age, 2nd grade in fact. Her 2nd grade teacher wore shoes with plastic fruit on them. My mom was determined to be a teacher so she could wear such fashionable footwear. I do believe somewhere she has a pair of plastic fruit shoes in her closet. In 1973, my mom's dream came true and she started to teach 2nd grade at Holden Elementary School. What you may not know is that my mom was such a dedicated teacher that she thought it was a fantastic idea to invite her entire 2nd grade class to her very small Sheffield condo to watch The Wizard of Oz. As a fellow 1st grade teacher, I think that is absolutely crazy. Following 11 years teaching 2nd grade, my mom became a reading consultant at Holden School and formed a close relationship with then Principal Ross Vandercook. What you may not know is that Ross was the person who inspired my mom to take a sabbatical. Who knew they used to give those out in Saline to pursue her administrative degree. In 1988, my mom became the principal of Union School and worked as a principal until 2003, both at Union and Holden School. My mom would spend those 15 years fiercely advocating for early education and reminding her administrative colleagues that smaller sized students does not equate to smaller problems. What you may not know is that aside from her principal duties, my mom would also kiss a pig, dress up like a tube of toothpaste on Halloween, complete with a lampshade hat, attend every play, every circus, and every evening celebration, and take care of ducklings that nested in the Holden's courtyard each spring. After retiring from being a principal, my mom continued to support Saline Area Schools as a school board member and a member of the foundation. My mom exemplifies what it means to be a Saline Area Schools employee, but what you may not know is, as dedicated as she is to Saline Area Schools, she's an even better mom. I present to you Kim Van Hoek.
Thank you. Not gonna cry. First, I thank you sincerely for this honor, and it truly is an honor. I'd like to start by introducing some very special people to me that are sitting at table 6. I have with us, well, you just met Emily and her man, Jason Solomon. My other daughter, Elizabeth Sickler, who was flown here as a surprise for me from Austin, Texas. And her father put that together, and I knew nothing about it. Then we have Mark and Vicki Hopper, who are very, very dear friends from Saline. Brian Marl, you probably have heard of him, he's the mayor. Brian we've known actually prior to his birth. I remember Betsy walking into our house on Russell Street in utter joy because she had just found out she was going to have a baby. And oh yes, and my husband, John Sickler. John said, when you get up there, all you need to say is, I owe everything that's good in my life to my husband, and then sit down. So that did seem like, and Nora is supporting that option. I have told people this several times, but in my 40 years in connection with Saline Area Schools, I actually worked in 3 different buildings. And if you would like a building closed or somehow gotten rid of, just hire me, because I did most of my career at Houghton. Do you know where Houghton is? It's gone. I also worked just 1 year at Jensen, then they tore it down. And also some lovely years at Union School. school. Unfortunately, that was sold. So if you want to get rid of a building, just give me a call. I don't know who nominated me for this honor, but I do want to make sure, in case that person were here, or if anybody knows who that person is besides Cheryl, I do certainly appreciate that. I was thinking about Saline and Saline Area Schools, and particularly Houghton School. When I started, Kay Raymond also was running the office. And I want to tell you that in my time working at Houghton School and for Saline Area Schools, I had, the happiest of times in your life and the saddest. The saddest being the loss of my mom, which happened in Saline, and I don't think I could have gotten through without my dear, dear friends at Houghton School. And then the happiest of times, which would have been 2 marriages, actually, well, we'll just count one. One marriage to my lovely husband, and obviously the births of my 2 children, Emily and Elizabeth, who make me prouder than anything in the world. I wanted to just read one tiny little quote that I have in a picture in my home, and it says, "I hope it will be said we taught them to stand tall and proud, even in the face of history, and the future was made whole for us all, one child at a time." I hope I had a part in helping with that goal, and thank you very much, Saline Area Schools.
Thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Jennifer Denson. Jen is a teacher here at Saline High School, and she is going to introduce our next Hall of Fame inductee, Carly Green. Jen Denson.
Thank you. I am really, really touched to be able to introduce Carly Green to you. You may notice that Carly is the youngest of our inductees, and what I want to impress upon you is the amazing depth that she has and the breadth of her work at this age. Carly is the co-founder of Poured Out, which is a nonprofit that Saline High School has partnered with for the last few years to send students to Haiti. We've had a number of students go on this trip. It has been life-changing for them. What's been even more impressive to me is to be the person who gets to go with them. When I met Carly, I thought, oh my God, she's gorgeous, and she has a big heart, and she just knows that this world can be better with everybody pulling together. She impresses that idea upon our students every time we go. So far, and I'll read you my stats, we've had 38 high schoolers go to Haiti with Carly to install water filters. There have been 4 grads of Saline High School who've come along with us. They've taken time on their own to come and do that. We've had 3 students repeat their trip with Poured Out. We've had 2 of those students continue on to become, or to be asked to be leaders of future groups. This year we have 36 students who are already signed up to go on 2 additional trips, and we've had 4 teachers who've gone with Carly to Haiti. What is beautiful about seeing Carly in Haiti is the fact that Carly can see through the poverty. She can see through what we consider to be the sadness of the lives around us, and she teaches our students that every person deserves access to clean water. Every person deserves a right to an education, and every person is there to be loved. And that is the type of message that I think we want all of our students at Saline High School to have. And so I'm really, really blessed to have the opportunity to work with Carly.
Turning on the stopwatch because I'm nervous. Well, I would like to start by saying it is such a huge and humbling honor to be nominated and selected for the Hall of Fame amongst such amazing giants of Saline. I feel very humbled by both my age and life's work thus far, and so thank you for considering me amongst these amazing people. So, they say it takes a village. I realize this is usually referred to in raising a child, but I think it applies to raising up an adult, an idea, and a passion as well. I believe it's taken a village to raise me to this position, this job, and this calling that I am blessed to call my own at this point in my life. From the large-scale community down to individuals, there are so many people that I have to thank immeasurably today. On a large scale, I would not be where I'm standing today without the amazing community in which I was brought up. Saline is a unique and amazing place, full of parents, teachers, coaches, and community members who have made it their priority to raise children to young adults who are aware of their potential, their ability to achieve anything. This village, if you will, offers and supports endless volunteering, athletic, and scholastic opportunities for students like myself. This village emphasizes the importance of personal growth as an avenue towards contributing to the greater good. On a smaller scale, I'm so thankful for the Saline school system for bringing me to the place I am today. From an educational standpoint, I still to this day am baffled and just so grateful by how amazing Saline schools are. I left for college with so much better prepared than many of the students I met there, and would not have the skill set to run an organization like Poured Out today without the continued support and challenges I got from this school system and the teachers and individuals it's made up of. I am thankful for individuals like the administration in the school system, Mr. Graydon and Mr. Lodge prominently among them, for seeking out, hiring, and encouraging the amazing teachers here at Saline. It took faith and support of the administrators not only to promote learning within these walls, but also to take the risk of allowing an opportunity for a more panoramic view of education. Poured Out, and I'm sure every student who has gone on a Haiti trip sincerely thanks you for your open-mindedness and your encouragement in this journey. Some of the individuals within this village that I owe an amazing thank you to is the teachers who have been part of this journey. Chris Trainer, who is not here tonight, I don't believe, heard from another alumni that someone at Saline High School started an organization to bring clean water to Haiti. And her heart broke immediately for the mothers and children who were so unnecessarily suffering. And she followed that heart all the way to Haiti. It was that giant heart that inspired her to begin conversations with Jen Benson and Jeff Pike about getting students involved. And it's that giant heart still today that with each trip breaks over and over again for the people of Haiti and shows an amazing example to students about how to love without prejudice or restraint. Jeff Pike is another teacher I owe thanks to today. He's become our SHS spring break trip leader, and I'm so thankful for that. It's been amazing to see him challenge each student that comes on a trip, never discouraging or judging. He continuously leads thought-provoking and perspective-changing discussions in our nightly debrief meetings under the mango trees. He's been such a pleasure to get to know and lead alongside. And now, my nominator and introduction extraordinaire, Ms. Jen Benson. I told Jen after our first trip to Haiti that she was my hero, and that still stands true today. Drawing from her passion for both educating young minds and serving in a humanitarian capacity, she, Jeff, and Drew Denson took a giant leap outside the box to start the senior capstone class. A class that focused not on our normal but necessary subjects like math, science, and reading, but on global issues. A class that taught students that they truly were a part of something bigger than their family, their school, their community, their state, even bigger than their country. A class that challenged conventional thinking and offered students the opportunity to see that there is a great need in this world, and more importantly, that they have the ability to do something about it. I know that's not because I've taken the class, so I'm jealous and wish it was here when I was here, but because I've gotten the beautiful opportunity to get to know so many of its students through these trips. I spend a lot of time in Haiti, about 6 months out of every year I'm there, and Haiti's a rough place to work and live, and it's exhausting. To be honest, everything about my job is exhausting. Physically, it's exhausting. It's hot and tiring and very easy to get very sick. Emotionally, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to love so many people so dearly who are so often hurting so badly. It's exhausting to know that in an ocean of need, we can only create one drop at a time of relief and solution. It's exhausting to host and lead hundreds of volunteers a year to a foreign and very rugged country. There are many times when the exhausting begins to feel unbearable, but then a Saline group comes. I can honestly say the most rewarding and refreshing times I've had in this journey is when one of our Saline groups is in Haiti with us. It is an indescribable blessing to watch students who mostly grew up in this amazing but slightly sheltered, maybe bubble-esque village, open their eyes to a whole new world, a world that by the end of the week becomes their world. Each student has shown me in their own unique way just how beautiful the human heart really is. To accept what is different and foreign, to ignore selfishness, to forego comfort emotionally, physically, and mentally, and to love through it all. Watching the students interact with their newly realized Haitian brothers and sisters, from hugging mama to carrying a bucket of water for grandma to snuggling with a sweet baby, I see evidence of how this village has continued to raise and encourage beautiful young people. Throughout the week and at the end of each trip, I get the opportunity to hear the hearts of these amazing young adults as they struggle and grow together, leaving their week in Haiti with more respect and appreciation for their families, their teachers, their homeland, and often most of all, for each other. Nothing is more encouraging to me, nothing more refreshing, and nothing more humbling to be even the smallest part of. Strangely, I never knew or had any of these teachers in high school, and I've had the unique and amazing opportunity to learn under my high school's teachers long after graduating college, as I have. Thank you for your selflessness, for your passion for young people, your love for Haiti, and for your friendship. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my parents, my dad who taught me my whole life that I could do anything I set my mind and heart to, and my mom who often fearfully but always prayerfully encouraged and supported my passion and calling. I am honored to have you as my parents and my biggest fans. Like I said, it takes a village, and I'm so thankful this is mine.
The next individual that I'm going to ask to come up to speak is Martha Frossett. Mrs. Frossett was an orchestra teacher in Saline Area Schools, and she is going to introduce Saline's very own Bonnie Rideout. Mrs. Frossett.
I met Bonnie Rideout can you hear me? Yes. I met Bonnie Rideout during the fall of 1972. I had been hired to start a strings and orchestra program in the Saline Schools. Bonnie was one of the 94 fourth graders that I recruited that year. She was a cute little girl with curly red hair, freckles across her nose, a megalod smile, boundless energy, and enormous talent. Now, in all fairness, I was not the first to put a violin into her hands. She had had some lessons with Carol Brownell, a private teacher in Ann Arbor. Bonnie quickly became a leader in the large group classes that met twice a week during the school day. Bonnie's parents came from a Scottish background, and she became fascinated with Scottish fiddling at a young age. She pursued it on her own with much help from her parents. Her mother, Betty, a wonderful pianist. Betty still performs with Bonnie on a regular basis. By the time Bonnie and her string classmates, one of whom is here, reached middle school, they were skillful enough to tackle full orchestra music, and we added brass, woodwind, and percussion players to the ensemble. Bonnie was usually the concertmaster in the first violin section, although Tim Donegan was a rising star and shared that spot with her on occasion. Right? About this time, another orchestra teacher came into Bonnie's life, Bob Phillips. Bob, a University of Michigan School of Music senior, was assigned to me to complete a semester of student teaching in Saline. He was a young man with great abilities and terrific rapport with the students. After his very successful student teaching experience, and with the approval from then Superintendent of School, Harold Hinz, we offered Bob the opportunity to develop the high school orchestra program, and I concentrated on recruiting and teaching the younger students. Bonnie was a very accomplished violinist throughout her high school years, and went on to earn 2 degrees from the University of Michigan, one in music and one in art. She studied violin with Jacob Krutch-Malnick and Ruggiero Ricci. Both gentlemen were world-known soloists and teachers. Shortly after graduation, she went to Scotland to research the music she loved and to hone her fiddling skills. Be sure, when you look at the Wall of Fame, that you read her incredible biography. I'm going to take the liberty to just read a portion. Ms. Rideout is the only American to hold the honor of representing Scottish fiddle music at the prestigious Edinburgh International Festival. She is the first woman to hold the national fiddle title and the youngest to have garnered a U.S. championship, winning it for 3 consecutive years. Bonnie discontinued competing to become an adjudicator and professional recording artist, and has maintained a consistently high profile in the Celtic music scene for almost 30 years. Bonnie has 15 solo recordings. I own 5 or 6 of them. I listen to them in my car. And has authored 7 books. Also, when you're looking at her bio, read about the non-profit organization that she and her husband fund, an organization that has built 19 primary schools in Honduras, Central America. I commend the selection committee for choosing Bonnie to receive this award. Her credentials are outstanding and her influence far-reaching. She's an amazing musician and performer, engaging her audiences with such skill and warmth. The wee lassie, with the curly red hair and freckles, wearing a pretty yellow dress, played a violin solo at our very first summer orchestra ice cream social some 42 years ago. She's now a world-renowned musician, an educator, a humanitarian, a wife, and the mother of 3 grown children. Ladies and gentlemen, our very own Bonnie Rideout.
Thank you. I hope you can all see me. I have high heels on though. Thank you, Martha. That was very, very sweet and kind. I'm incredibly humbled to be here and nervous, and that says something when I play for thousands and thousands of people. I think this is more scary than the Grammy Awards. But looking out and seeing all of you, first of all, thank you to the Foundation of Saline Area Schools. And I came in on Wednesday, and especially thank you, Kurt Ellis. I know a lot of this is your brainchild, and it's just delightful to hear the history of how this all came about. And I came in on Wednesday and thought I would meet up with Kurt and just get sort of a small tour of the high school. And I got a tour of Saline. It was fabulous. And yes, Houghton School, I'm sad to say that I did see that. And the trees are beautiful there. But I do remember that very well. And yes, I did get spanked with a ruler by Mr. Kessel when I beat up Charlie Martin in the 3rd grade. But he cheated when we were playing pickle. So thank you, Kurt. Also, I quickly want to introduce the people at my table who are so very, very special to me. Jim and Joanne Porter, who grew up, I grew up with them down the road. I lived at 765 Textile Road, and we lived in the farm caretaker's house next to the Wilson Farm, the Sesquicentennial Farm. It's right over there, so it is kind of odd to have your home be a museum. And see the fields that I played in. My brother and I would play hide and seek in the cornfields right where this school is now. So I feel like quite a fossil. But it is beautiful and extraordinary to come here and see this great school. And so thank you for the tour of all the schools. And so the Porters were our neighbors there on the farm. And then, of course, Martha Froseth. And next to her is Rebecca Green Driscoll, who is my very best friend, all growing up. She was on the famous Bus 29 route. We were the rowdiest school bus, I think. And so thank you for coming, Rebecca. And my parents, Doug and Betty, are here. And my husband, Jesus Medrano, of 25 years. thank you for coming and joining us, and welcome to Saline and seeing this wonderful place. When we were driving around yesterday, my husband flew in on Friday, and our Thursday night, and we drove around in the morning Friday, and I showed him the old farm. And we were coming up the road here to the high school, and I said, stop, I remember this. There was a wood line that still remains of where we were. It was all countryside. And we stopped, and I said, there's a fossil rock. We have to go see the fossil rock. I knew every tree and shrub and woods. The wood line is still there. And I had him climbing fences and tromping through the woods. And I said, there used to be a foxhole right here. And we turned and we looked, and there was a fox that was running through the woods right there. So I thought that was a wonderful sign and a welcome to come back to Saline. This beautiful school is sort of reflective of, it's a foundation and a structure. I know that it's very different from the high school, which is now the junior high where we were, but it's really emblematic of the people here. And I'm just standing on the shoulders of all the teachers and the staff that were here when I was here. And it's lovely to be honored here with Mr. Tebow and Mr. Corona. I also thank you, but my parents probably thank you more, because you kept those boys at arm's length in the hallways for me. So it is an honor. I stand on the shoulders. What I learned here at Saline, I've taken with me around the world. And the sense of competition, when you leave Saline, and when I left Saline and went out into the world and went into the entertainment industry, as my husband said the other night, I really have swum in very deep waters to get where I am in my career. And it started here. I was taught how to swim in those deep waters when I went out. It really is a big, huge part of my heart. And competition in Saline was a big part of that. My children have grown up in other schools. I've taught in many schools and workshops around the world. And you have that sense here. Competition is important. The other thing that I carry with me is giving back to a community. It's rare in a lot of schools, but here, children are taught from the very beginning, whether you're in the sports program or whether you're in the music program or whatever, you give back, you volunteer, and the sense of volunteerism in Saline is incredible. And I still see that here in these 4 days that I've been here. It's just been wonderful. And last but not least is the awareness of the outer world. And it might be a bubble to raise children here in a good way, but it's not a bubble in the way that, oh, geez, I mean, Carly, your speech was wonderful. And when you said the bubble, it's true, but also you're out in the big world and you bring Saline with you. And so those three elements, I think, are very, very deeply ingrained in me from Saline. So thank you again, Saline. Thank you to the Foundation for Saline Area Schools. And one last plug, of course, being an entertainer, is for all of you to think on October 18th at 7:30 p.m. in the high school auditorium, there will be a concert in honor of Bob and Pam Phillips. But really, as they say, it's an honor to celebrate the program, the music program here. And so please come out for that. I'm actually coming back, so if you want to see me perform, I will be playing. But I get Saline twice in 2 months, so thank you so much once again.
Our next introduction is somewhat unique. Craig Hepp wanted to introduce Cheryl Hepp, or vice versa. Cheryl wanted Craig to introduce her. Craig couldn't be here tonight, so David Rapp is going to introduce Craig Hepp, who then has a recorded video message that we'll share with you. So, Mr. Rapp, come on up.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how this worked out. However, I didn't get to sit at Cheryl's table. Although sitting across from Mr. Corona today is a lot better than it was in '87, I can tell you that. And I had a lot of those days. Also, you know, Craig can't be here with his family. Obviously, even if this wasn't already way planned in advance, Craig would be here because you mean the world to him. I just want to say that without going into a big thing, I just want to say I have the highest respect for Cheryl Heft and for all that she has done for Saline Area Schools and all she continues to do for Saline Area Schools. She's just simply the best, and I appreciate it. And I am taking 2 months home, Mrs. Heft, when I leave. So at this point, I'm going to introduce to you guys Mr. Craig Heft, our Saline Fire Chief also. Thank you.
Thank you. And first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to all the inductees. I couldn't think of a better group of people to get this Hall of Fame started. And I'd also like to say to Mr. Corona, the hair does not hit the collar anymore, so you can't call me out on that. It's an honor to be here to talk about Cheryl Heft, Aunt Cheryl, some may call her, like me, and or Miss Haynes, which is where we started many years ago. I had her home economics class. I was a junior. I enjoyed it very much, so much that I took it the next year, and they just gave it a fancier name, which was Advanced Foods. It was an excellent class, not to take anything away from math and science and English. We know those are the important classes, but I got to tell you, from home economics, I took away things I use today. I'm not sure how many kids can do this anymore, but I can sew a button on my shirt, I can iron my own clothes, I can follow a recipe, and I can fry an egg. And I challenge you to see if your kids could fry an egg and flip it and make it over easy. So there's one you can take home with you. It's an honor to be able to do this, and I'd like to start out, and I'll tell you some information about Cheryl, and we'll start with her early years. So, the early years. She was raised on a family farm in Lodi Township, beautiful farm. She learned the German work ethic at an early age. There's a lot of us in the Saline area that are Germans. She was involved in 4-H as a youth. She attended Michigan State. She majored in home economics, which makes sense to me. Then she came back to Saline, and she taught at the high school for 26 years. She advised Future Homemakers of America, the FHA. She had the largest chapter in the state and second largest in the nation, using 4-H leadership skills to prepare FHAers in state and national competition in demonstrations, public speaking, parliamentary procedure, and job interviews, and others. Then in 1987, she initiated the first craft show as a fundraiser for students to attend competitions and fund over 50 school and community projects annually. The FHAers held numerous local, regional, and state offices, including at least 5 state presidents, so that says a lot about her leadership ability. She greatly influenced her students by teaching them life skills for successful adult living, which I'm a perfect example because I can fry that egg. In 1981, the Saline JCs gave her the honor of Outstanding Educator. In 1995, the Chamber of Commerce named her Citizen of the Year. Again, it just shows her leadership ability. She retired in 1994, but not really. She just retired from teaching because now she's added craft shows with all the profits benefiting all the Saline School student youth groups. And she's considered to be one of the top craft show promoters in the area. They come from all over the United States to these craft shows. She's president of the Saline Area Historic Preservation Foundation since its beginning, and she helped them organize a 501c3. She's in charge of organizing the 1,800 Saline students on an annual basis from 2nd to 4th grade that are exposed to the Saline history through the one-room schoolhouse, and organizes the ice cream social to aid in the maintenance of the building. And certainly it supports in buying any other needs they need. As a member of the Historical Preservation Group, not only she, but the whole group received the George Anderson Vision Award for their efforts. And then in 2010, she was elected the president of the Foundation for the Saline Area Schools. And we all understand this portion of her job because she does it extremely well. I think the foundation now receives more money than they ever have. And the teachers now understand and find that there's all this opportunity for them right there at the foundation. In addition to the trustees in the foundation, volunteers are now playing a major role in the success of the foundation getting that money stream so that we're able to reach out to our teachers, and when they're being creative, we can give them the funding to take them where they need to be. So, before I bring her up here, I would just like to say we all know her as a hardworking, caring, loves Saline Area Schools, loves her community, and would do anything for anybody. It's an honor to introduce Cheryl Heft.
David, I can't hug you, but thank you. And Craig the same. I wasn't sure what Craig was going to do, and there's a long history behind that because he was my former student. But I thank both of them for the introductions this evening. I also congratulate the other nominees. I am truly honored to be in this class. When we posted their bios on Facebook this past week, each individual received many likes and positive comments about their contributions to our school and community. And I was impressed to see how many times each of those were shared. And if you have not gone on Saline Area Schools alumni, please do on Facebook. And you will see all of our pictures, much to someone's dismay. But it certainly is an honor to be a member of this class of 2014. Next, I'd like to extend my congratulations and express my pride to Kurt Ellis for his leadership and creation of this Hall of Fame. He introduced it to the foundation with the assistance of 2 Saline alumni who are here this evening, Amherst Boucher Price and Megan Crosby. You guys wave, where are you? As Kurt said earlier, 18 months ago, they started this process. And tonight, I believe, we begin a tradition that I predict will continue for many years to come. I'd like to recognize the entire alumni committee who put this evening and last night and the entire Hall of Fame together, all of you from the alumni committee from the Foundation of Saline Area Schools. Hands. And to the trustees of the foundation who supported this project. Trustees of the foundation, hands. I'm going to do a quick advertisement, and Amherst don't time me through this. On your tables was a card, and I want to extend to each of you an invitation to our next event, which will be held on Tuesday, September 23rd at Crabtree Field, Corona Complex, between the middle school and Liberty, and it is our major fundraiser for the year. We will have Lloyd Carr in the morning from 7 to 8, and we have Tony Scheffler, former Detroit Lion, at noon. There is an I can't say it, whatever, you know, to get your address or get your reservations to. And with that, please come join us for that. That following Friday night, we'll be back on the patio. This time it's Dan's from downtown to do the food, and we invite all of you to join us at the Horner football game on that Friday night. Last week I was asked by Kurt to speak to Saline's new teachers. This is not an unusual thing, I've done it in the past. And to talk about my early days of teaching. This year he also asked me to talk about tradition. Besides making me feel old, it did give me the opportunity to think back to the 50s and 60s. The fact that I started my education in a one-room school, and then I went to Jensen, which is long gone, Kim, and Union, and graduated from what is now Liberty. I taught at Liberty, and went on to what is now the middle school. To that teacher group, I also always relate 2 facts. One, I remember that I never saw the sun rise or set during the month of September, as I was always overwhelmed with the return to another school year. I also recall that when David Raff returned to Saline to begin his teaching career here, we were both working in our rooms one Sunday afternoon, and he said, "Cheryl, when do you lose that 3 p.m. panic attack on Sunday?" I told him then, and I still believe, never. It took me a long time, even after I retired, about 2 years, before I actually could enjoy a Sunday afternoon.
I believe that these two characteristics, the September sun, the 3 p.m. panic attack, are what our dedicated staff is all about. In 1994, Jim decided to retire after 37.5 years. Jim was my husband, by the way. I quickly told him he was not sleeping in every morning and me going off to work, so I retired too. I remember worrying about what I was going to do, and my good friend Gloria Dio, who's here this evening, worried too. She was concerned about what I would do to fill my days. She said, 26 years you've been busy teaching and advising FHA. But needless to say, we kept busy. So I thought tonight I wanted to be a little different than the rest of the speakers, make it a little lighter. And so my speech is why Aunt Cheryl, and I'll explain that in a minute, gets out of bed each morning. What motivates me, what makes me tick. I want to make this acceptance a little lighter and yet recall some of my memories in life. First of all, my first reason for getting out of bed. For those of you who know me, I have a passion for Saline. I was born and raised here and still live here. But probably more importantly, I'm dedicated to Saline Area Schools. Jim always says that the staff can do no wrong, and I defend them to the utmost. Why? A whole lot of me still walks these halls. Teachers, administrators, and coaches that were students still walk the halls and share my belief in Saline Schools. I truly believe in this district, its accomplishments, and its vision. The entire system is still my employer, but in a different context. Now I volunteer. When I retired in 1994, I wanted to give back and support my passions. Weber Bliss is truly Jim's passion, but I supported that. The craft shows continue, and I truly do love those 3 days a year. And the foundation has grown and matured as I have served as a trustee and now president. Number 2, why I get up in the morning is my work ethic. My mother and dad were truly work alcoholics. I'm telling you those words tonight. My father drove the tractor and worked in the fields till the day he died. He expected everyone in his life to have the same dedication. I hope I can achieve that also. I enjoy the challenges. I enjoy work and all of the people that I meet in the process. As an only child of a stout German farmer and his wife, making a livelihood on that 140 acres in Lodi Township, I learned to love animals. The cows, the pigs, and the sheep were a part of the farm, and I was required to take care of them. I drove tractor, I worked in the fields and the garden. I was a 4-H member, as Frank said, and took care of chickens plus numerous other animals, including Porky the pig. I must say my parents protected me though. I never learned to milk a cow, but I certainly carried a lot of buckets of milk to the cooler. I never delivered a baby pig or lamb, but I did a lot of feeding of those animals. Besides Porky, I had numerous orphan lambs and calves, plus baby chickens and puppies as my pets, and all of them came in the house. My parents and maternal grandparents, the only grandparents I knew, believed in farming. And like them, I believe in hard work and it's necessary to be a success. As my cousin Patty Haynes says, it's one of those things that the Hayneses do. My third reason for getting up in the morning is pretty related to that work ethic, my work expectations. I have high standards. It comes into play when at a committee meeting I want all the events and programs to be successful and the volunteers to achieve their goals. Probably my greatest frustration in life is when others don't have those same standards. When working on a foundation event or organizing another craft show, I want it to be better than it was last year. I am diligent in detail and seldom waver in challenging others to reach inside themselves to find hidden talents and abilities still undiscovered. My fourth reason for getting up in the morning is I am extremely competitive. In high school, I did play basketball, half court, 6 players, but only 3 on each end, and you never cross the half court line. I always wanted to win. In 4-H, I was excited to work on my projects to get a blue ribbon. I remember my grandparents always letting me win in euchre. But then I married a man who had to live. I can honestly say I will not let Jim, and I do appreciate his love and support in everything that I do. I cannot let him get more done in a day than me. I want to get the day going and check things off my list. I am challenged if someone tells me I cannot achieve something. If I really want it, I'll find a way. And then last, and definitely not least, are my students. Many of you are in this room tonight. For 26 years, you were in the classroom or in FHA. Back then, you were my inspiration for getting up on those mornings. I watched you grow and mature and was proud then to be part of your learning experience. As a teacher, like a parent, I watched you flounder, but you also succeeded. I cared and wanted to share in your life's accomplishments. You had to listen to me in class. You had to take notes. You had to take the tests. And Jim and I would always kid, we didn't need our own kids. We had classrooms full. During our teaching days, these students were in and out of our home, and many return today with their children to visit, and we enjoy those times. Each and every student is an inspiration, and I treasure sharing in their life today. One of my proudest achievements is I am the teacher of the Mayor of Saline, the Superintendent of Saline Area Schools, the Fire Chief, and numerous other Saline administrators, teachers, and staff, and other notable Salinians in our banks, auctioneers, institutes of higher learning, and numerous other businesses. And now to Aunt Cheryl. That term is used regularly today, mostly by males. The joke is Aunt Cheryl, and in 99% of the cases when that's said, it gets done. Now, I am actually the Aunt Cheryl to the fire chief, and he probably utilizes it the least. However, for some reason, I believe he's probably the origin of the term. He used it to get out of trouble at some time. But it is unique. The guys who use it were enrolled in Boys Home Ec before Title IX, or consumer econ classes, or worked with Jack Crabtree and me on the FHA football chicken barbecue. Remember, I was a home economics teacher, and I was supposed to teach girls. But these men today make my day with their demands for chocolate cake, monkey bread, or other requests, continuing my involvement in their lives. My final words are thanks. I checked Wikipedia for your definition of Hall of Fame. It's a structure housing memorials, not quite sure about that, of famous or illustrious individuals virtually chosen by a group of electors. I am honored, I am humbled, and I want everyone to know that I believe my life resulted from the experiences provided by each of you, my students, my friends, my associates, my family, and my husband. God bless.
Cheryl mentioned the chicken barbecue, and I still have the scars up and down my arms from the chicken broiling over. The sixth member of the Hall of Fame that we're going to talk about tonight is Roy Palmieri. And many of you know Roy owned and operated Saline Sports Shack, was partners of his for about 30 years here in Saline, and was in many respects all things sports here in Saline for people who were looking for uniforms, equipment, etc. When I called Roy to tell him that he had been selected as a Hall of Fame, there was this kind of awkward silence on the other side of the phone, and he said, "My children just bought me a trip to Hawaii for our anniversary, and so I can't be here tonight. Is that a problem?" Favor. He always said favor and stuff. And I said, absolutely not. And so we have the pleasure of having two of those children who actually sent him to Hawaii with us here tonight. Denise Palmieri is going to come up with her sister Colleen, and they'll talk about their dad.
Good evening. We are accepting this award on behalf of our dad, Roy Palmieri. He's very sorry he cannot attend this evening, but he is having a great time in Hawaii.
He is humble inducted into the Saline Hall of Fame and would like to thank all the members for this honor. We'd also like to thank the members for their hard work in creating this wonderful evening tonight.
In addition, our dad would like to thank the Saline Area Schools, Saline Community Education, the Saline Rec Center, and the many residents, coaches, athletes, and other customers for their support over the years. Finally, he would like to thank his wife Judy and his 5 kids, or 2 of them, for their patience with the many hours he spent running the store.
Roy was a business owner of the Saline Sport Shack from 1979 to 2013. Growing up while our dad owned the shack, we were very fortunate to watch him do something that he loved. He has always had a love for sports and he loved being part of the Saline running community.
He enjoyed what he did because of the people in Saline he got to know over the years. His business partners, Dave Metzger and Roger Cox, his colleagues, and the young people he employed and mentored. While owning the shack, he has listened to countless community members, cheered on their children, and supported not only Saline athletes young and old, but also all members of the community.
In addition to showing us the importance of doing what you love, he has also shown us what a positive impact a small-town business owner with a big heart can have on the people who have walked through his door. He is a positive role model in our community, and he values all of the connections he has made with the youth and adults of Saline. Not only has he impacted their lives, they in turn have impacted his.
Roy Palmieri is the ultimate good guy, and we are proud to call him our dad. Thank you very much for giving him this award.
Thank you both. Next, I would like to introduce to you Jennifer McCabe, and she is going to speak about her father, longtime high school principal Paul Tebow. Jennifer.
As I started to write this introduction, I had no idea where to start. My father has been in Saline for almost 60 years, and that's a lot of ground to cover. As revisions were made, I realized the underlying theme was growth. So let me start at the beginning. Having recently graduated from the University of Michigan in 1956, my dad caught wind of a teaching position in a little town called Saline. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't think my dad even knew where Saline was. He soon had an interview with Mr. Elmer Coder. I believe there was a conversation about what his preferred drink was and if he preferred to play cards. These are 2 things that would never be discussed in a job interview today. He was hired and started at Union School, which housed both the high school and middle school students. The high school totaled only 300 students. There were his social studies classes, history, geography, and government. There were a few unfortunate students who had to have him for science and English as well. And like most new teachers, teaching was not my father's only duty. He was also a club sponsor, the junior varsity boys basketball coach, and chaperone for many dances and trips. Dad even was the class sponsor for the class of 1963. The year 1963 brought a time of growth and opportunities for my dad as well. He was promoted to assistant principal, as well as athletic director and transportation director. He continued to grow as in 1966, Dad was promoted to principal, a position he occupied for 30 years. But the 60s weren't only a time of growth for my dad, but also for Saline schools. It was the start of great expansion. I believe my dad was instrumental in getting more educational opportunities to the students. Vocational classes were offered, which started a great relationship with the Washington Consortium, a relationship that still exists today. Later, AP classes were taught, allowing students to test for college credit. And student credit shares were established with local colleges such as Washtenaw Community College and the University of Michigan. The school system also took advantage of the growing community. Cooperatives was offered through the Evangelical Homes of Michigan and Saline Community Hospital. Lastly, scholarships were established, especially with the American Legion and the Rotary Club, 2 organizations my father is still active in today. Even in retirement, Dad lent himself to the custodial services, a time I refer to my dad as the head janitor. I really don't think there was an area of the schools district my father did not touch. Any growing school system needs space. My father had the honor of moving the high school students from Union School to the current Liberty School in 1959, then the current middle school in 1971. He saw the building and opening of Cone Elementary School and Pleasant Ridge Elementary School as well. He saw groundbreaking on Woodland and Heritage Elementary Schools, which opened the year after he retired in 1997. The graduating classes averaged 80 when he started. They averaged 300 when he retired. And in 1997, the Foreman Service Drive that connected the old high school to old middle school was given a name, Tebow Lane. During all this, he grew as a person as well. Dad served our country in the late 1950s during his time in the United States Army. He received his master's degree in 1962 from the University of Michigan, and he found a way to become husband to my mom, Nancy, otherwise known as Miss Coolikamp, the former home economics teacher at Saline. They obviously did not have a policy about dating your coworkers back then. And most importantly, he became a father to me. He probably didn't wish it back for me then, but he got his greatest job as grandfather here. Dad couldn't have done it without a fantastic support staff of assistants and teachers. I have heard from many coworkers and friends of my dad how he was an outstanding leader. He was fair when he could be, hard when he had to be. He led with integrity and was a true mentor. He always had the best intentions for Saline at heart. He truly loved Saline Area Schools. Congratulations.
I'm probably the only person around here who doesn't need to use this microphone. That was one of my attributes. I don't know if it was an outstanding attribute, but it was something I was known for. If you didn't have a microphone, just talk loud if you want to get everything done. I want to just tell you a little an aside about my daughter and myself. Since that was the second time I've hugged her at what I call an important program, when she graduated from high school, they were going to have me present her with her diploma, and I appropriately did. But when the picture came on the newspaper, the girl I was hugging had really, really long hair, and my daughter had really short hair, and it just so happened that the girl in front of her alphabetically had given me a hug too, and that was the girl who took me with her. Miss Sarah didn't appear in that. But thank you for that introduction, Jennifer. I think probably sometimes I forgot about a lot of those things. I don't know where you got all that information. Probably from your mother, I suppose. I wanted to get up here and do something really, really short, and I was writing things down, and I said, maybe I'll just ad-lib this, and maybe I'll do it for about 2 minutes. And then there was a little note on the side that said, at this time of the evening, probably the audience will stand up and applaud. So I'll just try and do this in terms of highlights about what happened that brought me here to Saline and what brought me here this evening. I came to Saline, and when I had my interview, probably a lot of you people here know me pretty well, but a lot of you don't. You probably don't know that I'm a Youper. And we Youpers carry a special badge for that we're a little different than a lot of other people in the state of Michigan. But anyway, I went and had my interview, and when I sat down with 3 Youpers. The present superintendent of school had been the superintendent at the former high school in the Upper Peninsula. The principal was there, and his wife was a native of Houghton, Michigan. His name was Houghton, and the other man there was a gentleman by the name of Howard Hill, who is still alive and has coffee with me every day, and I find that worthwhile and interesting. We find that being Youpers is kind of a challenge at this time. What I want to tell you is I spoke to a graduating class several years ago, and I was trying to think about what I wanted to tell them about, and I began to think about my job as principal and how it came about and how I was successful. And I started thinking about all the people who helped me. And so my theme of that graduation was you can't do it alone. And I have to tell you that one of the greatest mentors in the world for me was the one man who was at my interview by the name of Elmer Houghton. And several of you people in this room probably had him for a principal and knew him well and thought so highly of him. And he was the man that directed me in the direction of becoming a school administrator. And so I have fond memories of that man. I think that growing up, you get a chance to think after about 25, 30 years who your other mentors were. And very obviously, I got to think about how strongly my mother and father were mentors for me. My parents both came to the United States as immigrants, and everything, pardon me, that they wanted done had to be done just right, and it had to be hard work. And when I was listening to Cheryl, I was saying, well, Cheryl, I went through the same kinds of things, probably just a little bit harder, because it was something that they believed real strongly that the only way you could be successful in America is if you were well educated. And needless to say, when we brought report cards home, boy, they better be good. Some of my high school teachers were mentors to me too, but probably my high school basketball coach was my most outstanding mentor, and I think that probably my parents would agree with that. They felt very strongly that he was doing such a good job with me that they should turn over some of the kinds of things that they'd like to do or they would do to him. And he just passed away about 3 months ago, and he was 96 years old. And I was one of the 5 basketball players that he had that went up there to his funeral, in the UP, by the way. And I can't help but thinking how important that was, because his boys all wrote me a note about how important it was to hear about the things that I had to say about their father. My brother's been a great mentor to me, and I have another mentor who has to look after me, and that's my wife. She had to make sure I had the right tie tonight and everything like this, and this goes on constantly. So I do appreciate the mentoring that my wife did. Going on to this talk, and the man that's going to speak right behind me kind of did this in tandem with me. My principalship was granted in my assistant principalship in 1963. I was made an acting assistant principal. And I had 3 hats. I was assistant principal, I was transportation manager, and athletic director. And I was doing this every day. I was taking one different hat on all the time. And Charlie Jacobson is here somewhere. She was in one of my 4th hour classes because I was teaching as well as doing those other 3 things. And the PA system comes and said, Mr. you got to come to the office when the bus is broken down. And Charlene and Kathy Snyder, was it? Taught my classes for me. So I was pretty lucky with those kinds of things. Anyway, in 1966, I was appointed principal of Saline Area Schools along with Clint Corona, and Clint's assistant, and he's looking away and thinking deeply about this. But that's when I really learned what mentorship was about, because I came under the hands of a gentleman by the name of Harold Hintz, who probably would have, in my mind, been part of this edifice we're in right now. He was a man with great foresight, great knowledge. He came from the area of Ohio, Canton, Ohio, and he showed us what really education was all about. And he was the kind of man that you wanted to just sit there and listen. And pretty soon I began to get from him what I ought to be doing in terms of being a good principal. And we began to progress through programs. Saline was a state school where you took 9th grade English and 9th grade math and 10th grade English and 10th grade math. And then we began to bring in bright young teachers and progressive teachers who look forward to changing the curriculum and making it more responsive to the needs of the student body. Saline was growing rapidly at that time, and as a result, we began to send a lot of our kids on to college and to further training, and we had to meet those demands, and we began to do that by bringing in programs with placement, college prep programs, any number of things. And one of the things that Harold Hintz was really good about, and he learned from his experience in Ohio, was that vocational education was a very, very important part of high schools. A lot of people think that vocational schools, vocational programs are where you dump, those kids. You are sitting here this evening having eaten a meal that was done by a very, very good vocational program at Saline High School, our culinary arts program. So I just want to that's the kind of thing that Harold Hintz brought to Saline High School, and that's the kind of thing that we should be very supportive of. I just want to let you know that I also feel that Saline High School wasn't just doing things in school. We had a very, very supportive community, a friendly community, an outgoing community. I was watching Craig Heft on this program over here, and I was thinking Craig Heft is our fire chief. And when I came here, they had a little light bulb in a stoplight uptown, and when there was a fire, that light went on, and then it went down, and then they rang a siren. And now we have a very, very energetic fire department. What I'm trying to get at is, we grew with what was going on in America at that time, and I think we not only grew, but we surpassed those kinds of things, and those are the kinds of things that I grew along with as a building principal. These are the support mechanisms that made Saline great. I was part of them. I'm pleased to do that. I'm not, I guess I'm not boastful about them in terms of myself. I knew what my limitations were, and I knew that getting to be associated with people who could do things well, and if they had my leadership, my understanding of whatever things were, we would have a better school system or a better high school, particularly where I spent all my years. So I just want to say that these are the kinds of things that I remember about Saline. These are the kind of things that make me proud. My brother-in-law always kids me about getting emotional on these things. I guess I do, but I have to stop a second and gain where I am at this thing. I want to read this last part to you. I am deeply moved by being named to this inaugural group of the Saline Foundation Hall of Fame membership. I commend you highly for the community-minded program and wish you continued success for many years to come. Special thanks go to the member workers who made this school and this program and this evening a success. When you get a little older, these things are emotional. I hope you enjoyed this program this evening as much as I did. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The final introduction tonight is going to be handled by Coach Jack Crabtree. He's going to introduce to you Mr. Clem Corona. Like many people in this room, when I started coaching here, speaking of Mr. Tebow and the mentoring process, Mr. Corona was the athletic director and I was still a teenage coach at the time. More than once received a Post-it note in my mailbox that just simply said, "See me, CC." So there are a number of people who probably got those through their careers. I'm a proud member of that club, but I'd like to introduce to you Jack Crabtree.
First of all, when Mr. Corona gave me a call, he said, keep it at 25 minutes. And then he calls and tells me later, it's had to be 3 to 5. So now I had to redo the whole thing. So, I think what I'm going to do here is tell you some things that maybe a lot of you don't know about this man. Because this man doesn't wear a lot of things on his cuff. He didn't tell you about this. So, hopefully you'll stay with me and we'll get through this not in 25 minutes. It's really a pleasure and honor to introduce the next inductee into the Foundation's Saline Area Schools Hall of Fame, Clem Corona. After graduating from his Pennsylvania high school, he heard the call to go west, young man, so he came to Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan. Upon completion of his college studies, he decided not to return to Pennsylvania with the Eagles, but instead tried his luck in the oil business. Well, in 1959, he made a final career choice and was employed by Saline Area Schools as a middle school teacher and assistant football coach, working for a former University of Michigan teammate. This began a 36-year career at Saline Area Schools. During this period, he served as coach, athletic director, administrator, and teacher. And must I say, always a teacher. As a coach, he served as an assistant football coach for 11 years and 1 year as the co-head coach. In 1964, he organized the first Saline High School boys golf team and coached that team for 32 years. In 1975, he organized the first Saline High School girls golf team, one of the first girls golf teams in the state, and coached that team for 25 years. Clem guided those two teams for 58 golf seasons, winning 2 state titles, 3 runner-up finishes, and numerous conference and regional championships. In 1992, the Michigan Golf Coaches Association selected Clem as their National High School Coach of the Year nominee from the state of Michigan. Also in 1992, he was inducted into Berwick, Pennsylvania's Area School District's Athletic Hall of Fame, where he had been a member of the football, basketball, and baseball teams. In 1998, he was inducted into the Michigan Golf Coaches Association Hall of Fame. In 1966, he was appointed athletic director and assistant principal. As the athletic director, he started with 5 sports, including cheerleading, and don't be offended, ladies. And they made up 8 teams, and there were no girls' sports teams. Back then it was GAA. When he retired, there were a total of 19 sports with 35 teams, 8 girls' teams. During his tenure, 14 sports and 27 teams were added, which included 4 to 5 times the number of coaches to mentor and monitor. It was necessary for him to mentor and monitor those coaches to make sure they understood the athletic department's philosophy. That philosophy was one that was committed to academic success, athletic achievement, sportsmanship, and most importantly, integrity. As administrator, just as he had mentored and monitored the coaches, he held the teachers to high standards. He wanted each student given the tools necessary to lead a successful and productive life. As administrator, he always gave his honest opinion to his peers. I'm sure Mr. Tebow would help me out there. Sometimes they agreed with him, other times they disagreed. But he was always up front, and they always knew where he stood. But you know, he was always a teacher. As a student, you were held accountable. You showed up to class, you be there on time, you obey the rules and regulations of the class, you pay attention in class, you do things necessary to be successful in class. In many ways, he enforced all the ingredients which were needed for them to be successful in the future. So if you pass through these halls during this period, you had a person that was looking after you, making sure you were given the necessary tools to succeed in life. And isn't that what education is all about? It wasn't an easy job, but it was one that Clem dedicated himself to do. And of course, he was a dedicated father and husband. A father to his daughter Kathy and his sons Joe, Tony, and John, and to a very supportive wife, Janet. In closing, I would like to say that a man like Clem Corona only comes along once in some lifetimes. So it's very admirable and right that you would honor him with this recognition. And I want to make sure that I don't receive a note in my mailbox tomorrow saying, see me, see me.
Thank you, Jack. About halfway through there, I wasn't sure who you were talking about. I'll take your word for it. And I appreciate you and Linda being here tonight to attend the festivities here. It's great to be last. Because probably everything you've had to say has already been said by everybody else. So if you hear an echo, it's really not an echo. It's me repeating what's been said already. I haven't done this for about 20 years, approximately 20 years, so if I stumble over my tongue a couple of times, bear with me and I'll try to be brief. I'd like to start off by saying, again, echoing what everybody else has said, that it is indeed an honor to be selected to the Foundation's Class of 2014 Hall of Fame. And to be in the first class makes it even more special. Thanks to Kurt Ellis, putting the wheels in motion of this event in motion, to the Foundations and its 3 business partners for its sponsorship, and to the Alumni Committee members for its selection. Generally speaking, I'd like to thank the following. First of all, the thousands of students that have walked these halls and have had occasions to meet, basically without whom I would not have a job, especially the 2 or 3% that had trouble behaving themselves. To the many teachers who were charged with the duties of educating these people and occasionally have problems in the classroom, for their assistance and cooperation in handling their referrals. To the hundreds of support staff members who also had some difficulties at times in the cafeteria, on the school bus, in the parking lot, etc., for helping me solve whatever specific problem that came up. To the administrators and school board members for the backing which I seem to need constantly. Finally, the community for their support and for giving me the opportunity to work for them for 36 years. The contributions of all of the aforementioned people were vital, and once again I say thank you very much. Specifically, when I think about my job at Saline, there are some names that come to mind, and I'd like to mention these people. Some you'll recognize, some you will not. First of all, Mike Rotuno used to be a teacher, coach, and assistant superintendent here at Saline during some of the years when I was working. Mike in 1959 gave me a call. He said, there's an opening at Saline High School. Are you interested in coaching and teaching? Without that call, who knows where I would have landed. Leo Jensen, Elmer Holden, Howard Hill, Dwight Reynolds. This is probably the same interview committee that interviewed Paul. It was a tough team, basically. We met at Leo's house, and I want to repeat the qualifications that were necessary. They asked me 2 questions. Number 1, do you play cards? Yes. Number 2, do you drink beer? Yes. You're hired. Absolutely no question about coaching or teaching. And that's true. Harold Hintz. In 1966, after 7 years of teaching both at the junior high and high school, he was the superintendent at that time, asked me if I wanted to be assistant principal and athletic director. I said yes, I accepted, and it's a job that I remained with that particular position until my retirement in 1995. Whatever success I may have had as assistant superintendent, or athletic director, or school administrator, Iowa Herald, basically said, if I gotta do your job, I don't need you, which stuck with me all the time. Harold was an outstanding superintendent and a better person. His retirement was sorely missed. Paul Tebow, fellow inductee, retired principal, and my boss for 30 years. Paul covered for me about 1,000 times when, if you could believe this, parents were not happy with my That's hard to believe. Paul, I apologize for all the grief you took on my behalf, but I also am very thankful that you saved my job, and I'm not kidding about that, that's sincere. Had all these people gone to the Board of Education, it might have had a different outlook. My family, to my wife, Janet, sitting here tonight, finally realized what for better or worse meant. When she had to be both mother and father to our 4 kids, while I was busy at school during the day and many of the nights. I thank her for her extra effort, and I double that for putting up with me for 57 years. My kids got an excellent education, K through 12 at Saline High School, all 4 of them. That's the good news. The bad news is their father went to school with them, high school with them, every day. And if you have teenagers, you know that's their worst nightmare. I want to thank them for making the best of what they thought was a bad situation. Thanks so much. Last, and certainly not least, and at the risk of mixing church and state, or being politically incorrect, I'd like to thank God for giving me whatever talent it took to do my job. We all settle in our occupation and are very proud of what we do. And that's the way it should be. However, I think we're kidding ourselves to think that we can do this alone. And it's like I like to say, you know, everyone needs help from the man upstairs. After all, that's where the real thank you belongs. Thanks very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm round of applause to all of the inductees tonight. Before we dismiss here tonight, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Roger Lighthizer. For those of you who were present last night, we saw the storm coming from the west, and I think some of us were optimistic enough to think that somehow, some way it might miss us. So there was a wonderful spread set out on the patio out of the stadium, and many people got to enjoy some of that nostalgic Lighthizer food that Roger prepared for us yesterday. Unfortunately, as you know, the evening ended with some pretty severe storms, and Roger and the superintendent Gray and a number of other people trying to hold a tent down for about an hour through a thunderstorm. But Roger, that was fantastic, and thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Mayor Brian Marl. Brian has prepared proclamations of congratulations to each of our inductees, and those will be given to you tonight as well. The very last thing, the centerpieces can go home with our inductees tonight. Those were prepared by Betsy Marl and Becca Cargill. The last thing I want to do is issue a challenge to you. Tonight was a wonderful evening, and you had 8 outstanding individuals presented to you tonight. But as you all know, there are others. There are others who are deserving and others who need to be here as well. The foundation will begin accepting nominations for the class of 2015. Give us a month or so just to recover from this process. But we will begin accepting nominations for the class of 2015 very shortly this fall. You can apply online, or you can certainly contact me over at Liberty School, and we look forward to, as Cheryl said, making this an annual event where we can continue to celebrate those people who created the foundation of Saline and Saline Area Schools. While we get up to leave tonight, what I'm going to ask you all to do, if you parked out on this side, the Hall of Fame is right down the hall there, and it's been covered up, so you might have walked by it on your way in. What we would like to do as we dismiss here tonight is have you walk down to the Hall of Fame. We'd like to unveil the Hall of Fame and take a group photo with our 8 inductees. So on behalf of the Foundation for Saline Area Schools, on behalf of the district superintendent, Scott Graydon back there, thank you very much for your attendance tonight, and please join me down the hall where we can unveil the Hall of Fame.